We are live, and we're going to be talking about Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. And I hope that everyone had a chance to read it. And I'll wait a few minutes so people can come and hang out and we can chat about the book. I always think this mug looks comically large next to my head. Let's see. Angle on this right so I have the best light option and the least mess over there behind me. So yeah, this month or last month we read Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, and I had been really wanting to pick this up for a while because I felt like this book was something I just needed to read, and I felt like it was really hyped, and I really wanted to find out if this was a book I was going to like or not, and I'm very pleased to say that it is. This ended up being a 5-star read for me, and I'm so glad I picked it for book club because otherwise I probably would not have ever picked it up. Or I might have gotten to it eventually, but it definitely wouldn't have been this year. So I'm glad that I forced myself to read this because it ended up being really, really good. I imagine, hopefully, that this will be in my top 10 at the end of the year. I don't know yet. We'll see. I'm going to be assessing where I'm at with that later. But I'm hoping this ends up being in my top 10 because I feel like this was like such an interesting story. And I can't wait to hear your thoughts about what you guys thought about it because I just want to talk it out. I did annotate too. I don't know if you can tell. It's really hard to see with this lighting, but I added a lot of sticky tabs in here because there were just so many quotes in this book that I got tab happy. But there was like just some really beautiful writing in here. And hold on. And I really liked it. I found the characters in this book to be weirdly unlikable and likable at the same time. I consider them to all be likable, unlikable characters, or at least not all of them, mostly Sam and Sadie, because they were just interesting people to read about. I liked how dynamic they were as characters. They had so many dimensions to them. But I didn't feel like I thought I wasn't going to like them because I had seen a lot of people say that they didn't like the main characters in this book. But I don't know. To me, they were weirdly likable and unlikable at the same time. I don't know how to explain that. But I'm going to set the book behind me because it's very heavy. It's a little awkward there. But yeah, if you pop in, let me know your thoughts and what you thought of the story. I ended up giving it 5 stars. And I had found some book club discussion questions we can use to discuss the story. I think what really drew me to it, though, was the fact that it was touted as a platonic love story, which I just thought that sounded great. There's not enough of that. And I really wanted to see what that had to say. And I don't know if this is working. So I'm going to pull up on my phone just in case the comments get wonky again. Sometimes they don't work. But oh, hi, Lindsay. Yeah, you know what? I agree with you. They were, like I said, they were likable and unlikable somehow at the same time. But I just really liked their dynamic together, their friendship. I just feel like it worked so well. And they felt, I don't know, the fact that they were both likable and unlikable, that made them feel like real people to me. Like I wasn't just reading a story. I was reading about these real people who created these games. And yeah, that's the other thing too. I knew it was about video games, and I am not a game person. Like I have played video games, but I wouldn't consider myself to be anything close to a gamer. I'm much more bookish than doing a lot of video games, but I found all of the stuff about making the games and coming up with ideas for the games all to be really interesting. And I kind of wish I want this to be adapted because I want to see what these games look like in actual, like, what does that look like? Because I don't know, the games all sounded really interesting. And like I said, I'm not a game person, but I kind of want to play the games just to see what they're like, because I found that to be really intriguing. And I am like struggling with my voice today for some reason, so I'm going to do my best. I have my tea to hopefully not like completely lose my voice here. I don't know if it's the weather, the pollen, I don't even know. But yeah, so this ended up being a book I really, really liked. And I found really interesting. I did tell Sarah not to read it. I was talking to Sarah, and the thing that I just like that took me by surprise was I had no idea going in that one of the main characters was disabled, and that was like a big aspect of his story was his foot and the problems he had with that throughout his whole life. So one, I got to use this towards my Build Your Library Reading Challenge. I counted it as a book with disability representation because I didn't know that was a part of the story, but also I feel like it's too close to home for Sarah, who broke her elbow a few years ago and has been having a lot of problems with her elbow and just had to have another surgery. And, you know, the part where they mention in the story that like his foot injury had become so bad that like the metal was breaking through the skin. That is exactly what happened to Sarah in her elbow. So when I read that, I just went, ooh. And I told Sarah, don't read this. Maybe in 5 to 10 years when it's all a distant memory, but not now. Now is not the time. But I found it weird that like no one anywhere, I've seen this book talked about a lot. And I don't think I've ever seen anyone say that it had disability rep in it or anything to do with that. So I found that kind of weird. But also I feel like it's important to point out, because I know like the stuff that he's dealing with in the story can be really traumatic. And yeah, I don't know why that's just like no one's mentioned it. But yeah, I really liked the story of their friendship and the fact that they just remained friends their whole lives and never really tried to make it into anything else. I just thought that was really interesting, and I want more things like that. So I want to find more platonic love stories going forward. I don't know. I just thought it was really interesting. And such a change from what love stories usually look like. Let me see. I was going to try to pull up these discussion questions, but I got to go pop back and forth because I have them up on my computer screen. Hold on. Let's see. What do we want to talk about? Like, I really liked how Sam and Sadie meet. I found that part of the story to be really interesting. I know I had a lot of bonding with my friends when I was young through video games. Nintendo had just come out and was a big thing when I was young. And I felt like that was like a big part of my childhood, was playing things like Mario and Duck Hunt. And what else do we play? Sonic the Hedgehog and Oregon Trail was a big part of my like elementary school years. So like reading about that kind of stuff I thought was really fun and nostalgic. Yeah, Lindsay, you know what? But I liked that. Okay, so yeah, I liked that Sam had feelings that he was trying to work out for Sadie, and like he wasn't really sure how to like talk about it. And that's the thing, that was like one of those unlikable, likable things, was that I didn't like that he was like upset with and jealous towards her, but also I felt like that made him more like a real person, because sometimes people have feelings that they don't know how to express. So I kind of felt like maybe he just didn't know how to talk to her about that. or that he was worried about rejection or whatever. So I don't know, but he did seem to get past it and like come to the same conclusion as her, that maybe they're better friends than lovers, which I don't know. I just think that was mature and interesting to see, because that's not usually how that goes in stories. So I liked that they both came to that. And yeah, I just thought their friendship though was really beautiful in a lot of ways. Particularly like when he creates that whole game for her to kind of bring her back out of her depression. That was like really interesting and sweet to read. Although like I don't know, my brain, I was just struggling to visualize that game, because the way it's written in the book felt like it was really happening in real time. Like she's living in this cabin and her neighbor, and like, I don't know, that was interesting, because that's not, maybe that's a gamer thing. I couldn't visualize the game of what they were doing. I don't know, that part was a little bit weird for me, but I did find it interesting. Yeah, so let's see, what do we want to talk about? Let's figure out a question here. So let's talk about, yeah, oh, let's see. Yeah, I agree, Lindsay. Building the game showed a lot of understanding of what would help Sadie. Like, I feel like they were such good friends. Like, he knew how to bring her out and how to get her to, like, kind of come back and embrace life again and that sort of thing. So I found that to be really sweet. So let's talk favorite characters. I really liked Marks. I feel like Marks was maybe the only truly likable character in the whole story. Like, he's just one of those like weird people who are just friends with everyone and can get along with everyone, and just like, what's that like? I don't know. To be like so outgoing and loving towards everybody. I just liked him so much. Megan says, I felt bad for Sam. She was so mean to him, even after her boyfriend said he was the one who saw the disc. Yeah, I feel like their friendship was very, like, challenged a lot throughout the book. But again, I just feel like that's what made it feel more realistic. Like, she was dealing with a lot of things that I think she was able to take her anger of those things out on Sam, because she knew he was a safe person and he could take it from her and be okay. I feel like, yeah, I agree. I did like Sam too. He was a hard character to read though, because just all the trauma in his life made it difficult sometimes for me to like. I felt really bad for him, but I felt bad for feeling bad for him, because I feel like he wouldn't want me to feel bad for him. Like, again, like I said, I felt like he was a real person. They all felt like so real that, yeah, I felt like guilty for feeling bad for him. Let's see. So how did you feel about the setting in the world of video game design? I found this part so interesting. So my kids are all really into video games, and my youngest currently is thinking she wants to go into game design. So I went into this book with that in the back of my head, like, this is cool. I can like tell her things about it. I've been trying to get everyone in my house to read this book. I keep telling my husband he should pick it up. This is a book he would like. I've been telling my twins to pick it up because I feel like they would like it. They're game people, so I feel like they would get more out of that part of the story. But I really, really found it interesting to read about. I love reading about different creative pursuits. And like, video games isn't a thing that I relate to very well, I guess, because I don't play a lot of video games, but I really enjoyed like reading the behind the scenes of it, like how video games get created and like the ideas that they bounced off each other and that sort of thing, I found really, really interesting to read about. So yeah, I really want someone who is like more into that stuff to read it, because I want to know like their perspective on the story. Ooh, Lindsay, that's why your husband's into game design and stuff. So yeah, I would love to know like how accurate all of that stuff is, because it was really interesting to read about. And I have no idea if the author did like any research on that, or if the author's done any kind of game design or anything like that. Because I find reading about like how things are created to be really interesting. So I would love to know like how accurate any of that was. The games all sounded really interesting too. It's not the kind of stuff I play. Like I've never moved beyond Mario. I'm pretty much like old school Mario kind of video game. But I don't know. I just found the stuff about how they developed the games to be interesting. I really liked also reading about like the games that Sadie created early on in her like career. I thought those were interesting. Like the Emily Dickinson poetry thing was neat. That's a game I would consider playing if that was a real thing. I would love to play something like that. I feel like a literary game would be cool. But I really liked reading about all of that, even though I don't do games. So yeah. Let's see. Oh no, Megan, I totally played Oregon Trail as a kid. Yeah. Yeah, I remember Oregon Trail vividly because that was like the best part of being in the computer lab when I was in like middle school. I'm pretty sure that was around my middle school years. Loved that. Let's see. So there's a question that says, let's talk about Sam's tragic backstory and how it impacted how he viewed the world. I feel like Sam was a very like tragic character. He was dealing with a lot of trauma and pain, and that made his view on the world a little more cynical, I think, but also he was weirdly optimistic at the same time. He's such an interesting character because there were so many moments where I felt like he was somehow both cynical and optimistic. How do you combine that? That's an interesting dynamic. I also really found the parts about like Sadie being the girl game developer and how she got often pushed to the side, and like he got all of the accolades and everything for creating a game, and the one where they did two different parts of the game and his part was more popular than her part. I don't know. I found all of that to be really interesting too. Just their dynamic together. Let's see. I really, really liked Marks. I found him to be probably my favorite character in the story. And how his connection to all the different characters, he was just like really an interesting person to follow. And I am still reeling from his death because that was unexpected. I don't know. I didn't see it coming at all. And I'm still very sad about what happened and the way it happened in the story with like his chapters being told. It was just really well done. Oh, hello. I have a dog. Hello. Drew's coming to say hi. 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 What are we doing? You want to be on the show? You want to talk about the book? What did you think of tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow? You want to share your thoughts? Are you just trying to get my tea? Okay, no, you can't. You can't climb all the way up here. Excuse us. She's been very stressed out from the thunder yesterday. Hi. Okay. Lindsay said that seems very realistic. Female rep in games has not been great. Yeah. That's another thing I wondered, like, how realistic was all of that? I imagine it was pretty realistic because, hi, that does seem like a very male-dominated industry, especially in the 90s and early 2000s. Hi, I'm going to get down because this isn't going to work for me. You can't be in my lap. Down. Let's see. Okay, hi. Drew. Hi. Let's see. Okay, so this question is a Mark's question. It says, Marx's main creative role is as an actor, which is limited to his time in college. How does he continue to contribute to the creative process with Sam and Sadie as producer, muse, organizer, and more? And what does his participation suggest about the various ways in which one participates in art beyond being an artist? I think that's probably why I found his character so interesting, is that he's there like to help, but he doesn't do any of the actual like game development stuff. He's more of a muse and like encourager, and he handled all like the business aspect. And I just thought that was great because I don't know, I think it shows that there's more than one way to be an artist and there's more than one way to participate in art. Hi, are you gonna get down, or are you just gonna climb all over me? Hi. Hi. Can you get down, please? Down? What? Okay, Drew, get down. Yeah, I agree, Lindsay. I think his participation allowed Sam and Sadie to succeed. Like, I don't know that they could have done all that they did without him as like their assistant. Like, he did so much of the work in the background to give them the opportunity to create. So I thought that was really, really great to see, because I think a lot of people think that you're an artist or you're not an artist. And I think that there's ways to like be creative outside of just like this one thing. Yeah. I also thought that the character of Dove was really interesting too. And the fact that he was so encouraging of Sadie, like their relationship was obviously not the healthiest, but I liked that he was always so like pro Sadie and helping her and encouraging her. So I think like characters like that in the story were really interesting to see, because I like the idea that we get to view like all the people in the background of what they accomplished. That I think that's really neat to read about. Like, it goes a long way to show that like one person can't create everything. Like even though that they might like do all of the hard parts of the creating, like they need all those other people behind them in order to achieve that. Hi, Laura. Let's see. I didn't find Sadie likable at all, and it made it hard to read. Yeah, I mean, again, likable and unlikable somehow at the same time. Like, I felt like she had moments where I like understood her and where she was coming from, but at the same time, yeah, she wasn't the most likable person. And I think for the most part, most of the characters in this book are like that, where like there are aspects of their person that I found like relatable and interesting. And there were also a lot of like things that they did that I didn't agree with or like. So I don't know. To me, that just made them feel more real. And I don't know. I really liked how that all worked out. Okay, another Sam question here. It says, how does Sam's foot, while it's injured and after it's been amputated, shape his sense of self? Consider his reflections on gender, sexuality, and pain, including how he constructs his avatar as Mayor Mazer. How do the sensitivities of his relationship with this part of his body improve and damage his relationships with the people that he loves? Yeah, I found his character to be really interesting because he, like I said, he's going through a lot of trauma and a lot of pain throughout the story. And he is the kind of person who would rather use that pain towards being creative. Like he didn't want to numb the pain. So he just like lived with it and harnessed that, like the feeling. I don't understand that at all because that's not how I am. If I'm in pain, I want it to be not in pain anymore. I want to find a way to stop the pain. So to read about a person who's like, well, if I do something to medicate, then I won't be as creative. I won't be able to like use my brain to its fullest because I'll be numbed. And so like living with that kind of pain must have been just so hard. And it definitely affects him as a person, just like making him more angry sometimes because that's where the pain gets channeled. And it also like made him pull away a lot, I think, from his friends because he felt like they couldn't understand what he was dealing with. And he just wanted to be alone, wanted to be left to himself. So I found that to be, again, interesting to read because that's not me at all. I'm the exact opposite of that. But let's see. Oh, here's an interesting question. Do you think Sadie and Sam regret the choices they made for Maple World, given how the game's political voice led to Marx's death? And do you think Marx had any regrets? I don't think he had any regrets. I think Marx is one of those people who just lives with their choices and doesn't really look back. Okay, I'm backing up and reading comments. Laura says, Sam got abused by Sadie so much in the book because she likes to blame him for her imaginary scenario. You have thoughts? For his imaginary scenario. Yeah, she did. She did put a lot on him. He was definitely her punching bag whenever she was struggling, which wasn't fair. But again, I feel like she found him to be the person that was the safest to unload that on. Like she couldn't get mad at Dove and she couldn't get mad at Marx, so she would get mad at Sam and take it out on him. So I don't know. But yeah, it definitely wasn't fair to him. But he did seem to like accept that that was his place here, that he would just take that from her. Yeah, I feel like a big part of Sam's character was just like not wanting people to look at him that way, to look at him like there was something wrong with him or that he was in pain or anything like that. He just wanted to be seen as a whole person, not just his injury or his damaged foot or lack of foot after it was amputated. Yeah. But that was so hard to read, though, reading about someone being in that much pain and just like not telling anybody. Let's see. Ooh, some of these questions are like a lot. Okay, here's an interesting question. So, from the title of the novel to Sadie's invocation of Emily Dickinson, to Marx's epitaph, Tamer of Horses, to the Master of the Rebels, there are many allusions to classical literature woven throughout the novel. What does this suggest about the nature of storytelling? How many ways can the same stories, emotions, and experiences be reinvented? Does the team believe they can create and are creating something new in their work, or are they finding new ways of expressing universal themes? What do video games offer a person in the form of entertainment, community, and growth that a play, a poem, or other art forms do not? Ooh, that's a lot. I did really like all the like ways that storytelling is played out in the story. Like I love reading stories about telling stories, and like storytelling and different ways that you can come at that. I find that really fun to read. So I did really like all of the allusions to literature and stuff in there. Like I said, I really want to play that Emily Dickinson game. I think that sounded really cool. I want to find a literary video game and see if I could get into that. I don't know. Could be fun. What now my brain's already forgotten half that question. What was I going to say? Oh. Okay, yeah. What do video games offer a person in the form of entertainment, community, and growth that a play, a poem, or other art forms do not? I don't know if it's necessarily not the same, but I can see the interactivity of video games is very different from like when you're reading a book, you're reading the words on a page and you're internalizing the story and thinking about it, but like you can't do anything with it. You can't interact with it the same way that you can a video game where you can go in the story and like do different things and try different ideas. So yeah. Laura says they can be endlessly reused. Don't we all tend to choose things that way? The video games I play, the books I read, etc., all have similar themes, and I still get everyone with the same. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of like storytelling in a game. I think it's the interaction that you can have, like taking a different route or, doing different things. You can play the same game a bunch of different ways. So I think that that's something different from just like reading a story or watching a play or watching a movie. I know for me, like it's comforting to watch a movie over and over again because I know what's going to happen. I'm ready for it. It's not going to be shocking or a surprise. So like the rereadability of certain books or watching movies over and over, I think the video games have that same element of like experiencing it again and again, the same thing. I think that's why we love stories so much, like just being able to kind of lose yourself in a story, lose yourself in a video game. I think they did a lot of interesting things with that in the book, especially with what was it called? The game that he creates for her. Like I find that to be really fun to read about. Oh yeah. If fried green tomatoes is on, it's a requirement. You have to watch it. There are certain movies that if like I'm flipping channels, although not so much anymore because now we just have streaming. But like if I see The Princess Bride, it's an automatic. You finish the movie wherever it started. You're watching that. Yeah, fried green tomato. I haven't watched that in a long time. I just got the book. I found it at a book sale. I've never read Fried Green Tomatoes. I've always wanted to because that's one of my all-time favorite movies, and I would love to know like what's different about the story. Ooh, Lindsay says, I think the author mentions at the end of the book that video games allow you to explore different ways of behaving that wouldn't be acceptable in real life. Yes. Yeah, because it's just like being on the internet. Like you can be somebody else on the internet than who you are in your real life because like then you don't have to be yourself anymore. You can take on a persona of somebody else. So yeah, I don't know. I can see that being an appeal of video games. Sure. Laura, we should make it a video. Yeah, we should do that for book club sometime. I don't know. I'm just afraid that I'm going to not like the book because I'm so like I know the movie so well that the book won't work for me. That happened to me with The Princess Bride. Like I still have never finished the Princess Bride book because it's too different from the movie in so many ways, and I just like it doesn't work for me because that's the thing that works for me. So I'm kind of scared to read Fried Green Tomatoes. I really want to, but I'm also worried that it's gonna not be what I want it to be. That happened to me too with Circle of Friends, and I can't remember the name of the author of that, but I loved the Circle of Friends movie and saw it so many times in my teen years, and then I read the book and did not like it. So it was too different. The movie Circle of Friends is excellent. The book, it's a lot similar in the beginning part, but like they change the end of the movie is very different from the end of the book, and I preferred the movie ending. So yeah, did not like the book ending. It made me very upset. I am glad that they changed it for the movie. That is Minnie Driver's best work. Yeah. I agree. That is her peak. She peaked with Circle of Friends. I don't know why that's so good and everything else she's done is just okay. But yeah, that movie is perfection. Okay, so let's see. Is there anything else we want to talk about from this list of discussion questions? Let's see. Well, here's a good one. What video games have you formed an attachment to in your life as a child and or as an adult? And what about the gameplay, story, or characters drew you in and left an impression on you? Honestly, I don't do video games much. I spent a lot of time in my youth and in my like up into my 20s playing like Super Mario Brothers. That's really like the extent of my gaming. My kids made me play Legend of Zelda for a while, but I don't like that as much. I don't do a lot of video games, so I don't have much to share on that. Not really my thing, but let's see. I think I get more into like movies and stories. Like reading is my thing. Movies. My entire childhood is basically me watching a bunch of movies on repeat. Like I would literally watch the same movie every day for like a year. My daughter hates it when I like quote movies while I'm watching them. Like I can say dialogue to certain movies because I've watched it that many times that I just know it by heart. Yeah, I can be annoying, but like that's just what I love is just rewatching things over and over to the point of like memorizing it. But yeah, Super Mario, if I'm talking video games, it's going to be Super Mario Brothers. It's probably what I've played more than anything else. I spent years trying to beat the original like Super Mario on Nintendo. Never got past level 8-2. Could not do it. To this day, I can't do it. It drives me crazy. I have no idea what Portal is, so I don't know what game that is, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe my kids know. They play a lot of video games, although I think they're really more into like Nintendo-y type stuff too. I don't know if they've gone much further than that. They play like a lot of Mario Party 8 and Pokemon, that kind of stuff. I did when I was a teenager, probably like around when I was either 14 or 15. I think it was 15. I spent a summer trying to beat Final Fantasy, like the first one. And I did beat the game, so I was very proud of myself. That's probably the most time I've ever devoted to a video game, though, in my whole life. But I got really obsessed with beating it. So I spent like an entire summer and a little bit extra beating that game. But I could not tell you a single thing about the game. I don't really remember any of it now, except that was like the first Final Fantasy. And I find it annoying that there are so many Final Fantasy. I'm like, is it final or not? Because there's too many now. Oh, I love Mario Kart. Yeah, we did that over. Did we play Mario Kart for Christmas? I think we did Mario Party 8, but we used to play Mario Kart a lot, and that was always fun. And I'm that weirdo who like holds the controller and like pulls up, like I have to move my whole body. I'm probably really ridiculous. I've never seen myself playing a video game, but I know like I am that person that's like moving the controller around, and somehow I think that's going to change it. So now I think I need to go play Mario. I haven't done that in a long time. I don't think I've played a video game since Christmas when we did family game night and we played Mario Party 8. It does help the character jump. I like when you're bouncing in your seat. Yes, I agree. Okay, so this is what we're reading this month. We are reading Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Klune. And I'm really excited to pick this up this month because I've been dying to read something else by T.J. Klune. I loved The House on the Cerulean Sea, and I want more of that. And Sarah has told me that this is what I'm looking for, that this is going to be just as good as The House on the Cerulean Sea. I'm really intrigued, too, that it's like an afterlife kind of story, because I really like that kind of thing. So I'm hoping that I love this. And like I really like the cover. So very excited for this. I'm going to go and add the book club stuff on Discord this afternoon so that if anyone's already started to read, they can weigh in on their thoughts there. But yeah, very excited to pick that up. And I will be figuring out the rest of our book club reads this month. I need to sit down and think about it. I have like a list of like maybes. Maybe I'll do a vote if I can't decide, and let you guys help me choose what we're going to read for what is up next: July, August, September, and October, right? I think we always stop in October. So we have 4 more books to select for the year. And I have too many options. so perhaps I'll put it to a vote in my Instagram stories and we can decide together and figure out what we're going to read. So yeah, I'll probably be doing that this coming week so we can figure it out. So I can announce it soon because I just realized like right before today that like I haven't done that yet and I need to figure out what we're reading so I can get that video up. So yeah, I'll probably do that this week. I'll give you guys some choices for each month and we can narrow it down and decide together. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you guys for coming and hanging out today and talking about Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. I'm so glad we read it. I love that I have this way of forcing myself to pick things up that I might not ever pick up otherwise. And that is definitely the case with this book, that I probably would not have read it. So thanks for reading it with me, and I will see you guys next time. Happy reading. Bye.